This past weekend was really horrible. I would say Sunday was probably the worst day I've had all year. I'm not going to get into it here, but I ended up having to use Uber twice, today and yesterday. And I took a 3 mile trip yesterday, which was like $20, a little bit over $20. And I took a 8 mile trip today, which at first they told me would be $20, 23 rather, because I had some supposed coupon. Then all of a then like because when I take rides, I always liked in the past to stand in front of some address where it would show this is where you could pick him up at, and then it would be easier for the driver to find me. So I don't go ahead with it. I move. It probably takes me about maybe 10 minutes at max to just get in front of somewhere that's not even a quarter of a mile, or it's a place that's like very close, right? And within that little 10-minute period, that $23 off disappeared, or $23 with the coupon vanished, and they were talking about, oh, this ride will be $30. So just for those two rides, $50 just gone. And I was thinking about it. So Uber drivers make roughly anywhere from 40 to 70% of the ride. And it's been even talked about by some drivers that they only get about 40%. But what I find so comical about Uber is that they'll have these drivers uh, basically underpaid. And but again, you're getting overcharged while they're underpaid. And after you finish your ride, they go, oh, did you appreciate your driver? Care to give them a tip? And to me, that's the one of the like scummiest things that they do, because it's one thing to overcharge people, right? Just to use your service once or twice a week, or even less than that. But it's another to underpay your employees and then expect the sympathetic, but still at the same time overcharged customers to make up the difference. Which, by the way, we have no, as far as I can tell, who's to say that they don't take a cut out of that too? And I was thinking it's kind of interesting. I've been noticing more and more businesses that, different restaurants I go to, different places I order from, and they'll ask you, "Do you want to leave a tip?" And it's like you're we're not in some sit in restaurant where, let's say, I have some waiter or waitress that is keeps coming back to my table, making sure I have everything, to where like there's a clear appreciation on the part of how much this person is hustling to meet my needs or demands as a customer. Some of these places, you go in there and they ask, "Hey, can I take your order?" And you say, "Yes, I'd like a da 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 da." And before you go and purchase whatever, they ask if you want to leave a tip on the machine. And the people working there are so accustomed to just no one tipping them, because why the hell would you? That they're like, "Oh, just skip the thing on the screen." But it's like, why even have that there in the first place? Now, what I found really disgusting about Uber is that the idea behind it used to be that it was cheaper than getting a taxi, right? So what they did was they basically made taxis obsolete by being a cheaper alternative to them. And then once taxis were no longer as in vogue or in fashion, they went and started charging higher rates. And man, those rates can balloon and go just, I mean, I've seen 5 mile trips going for, again, $30. Just madness. Of course, the people I feel the worst for, besides the employees, are those that don't have cars and have to end up using that crap. Um, because it's like, imagine going to work, and before you even get there, oh, I got $20 to travel, 3 miles or 5 miles or whatever, and then oh, I have to get back home. Oh, that'll be another hell. They like to charge more depending on what time of day it is, so probably $30 to get back. So like every day you're screwed out of $50, and this is happening a lot of times to people who aren't really that well off. So it's like they always tell like poor people, oh, if you want money, you need to work, and then your job is so far away that you can't walk to it, so you have to rely on this transportation service that overcharges and takes away about a third of your check every week. It's disgusting. That's why I said with poverty, there's just it's so hard to climb out of it because there are always these things like eating away at you that you really have no choice but to use depending on your circumstance. If you don't have a car, you're probably going to try to use, if not public transportation, uh, Uber, and we've seen how overpriced that is, and just these few rides. And I hadn't used it in years, so I was just kind of like reminding myself, oh, here we go again. If there was one company I would like to see go out of business, Uber would be a really strong contender. Because I've made mention that I feel like the worst things companies do, besides like just underpaying their employees so that they can squeeze more profit for themselves, is overcharging on things that I believe are basic. So like, you go to a restaurant, they charge you $16 for a burger. You go to any of these different food places, and a meal is like, again, double digit dollars, just like 10, 11, 12, 13, stuff like that. I don't like, but at least there's alternatives. There are a lot of people where the only way they can get around is with Uber, and the only way to really fight against paying crazy amounts of money, I guess, is to just hope you get a job really early in the morning where there's barely anyone using the service, and then maybe you'll get a fare that's not a ridiculous price. But it's sad, especially when you consider that Uber is another one of those jobs where people are expected to use their own vehicle to get around, right? So you are on the front line, both in terms of your physical person and also your car, and they get to take seemingly a majority of what you make, even though it's your vehicle, you're the one driving it. Like, it's nuts. And the sad part is, it really doesn't have to be this way. If you're going to charge, like, let's say they charge $15, right, for 8 mile trip, okay? If the riders are getting, and you can't evenly divide 15, but if the driver was getting it, let's say half of that, right, about close to, it'd be like what, 725, 750, right, so like somewhere around there. At a minimum, you could make the justification of, okay, this is a 8 mile trip, but whatever the distance is, they're going to make it back in terms of what they're paid from it, and the other half is going to the good lovely overlord. But I really think Uber drivers should make the majority of whatever the fare is. Like, how the hell are you going to sit here and charge me $30, and then the person that's actually driving the damn car only gets $10, or like or 15? It's disgusting. So I just hope more and more people stop using them. They find carpools or some other way to just get out of having to deal with an overpriced service like that. They are a very predatory company that I'm really sick of, and I'd like to stay away. And it's amazing that like 2 rides with Uber, 3 mile ride and a 7 mile ride, that is the equivalent of a full tank of gas. Like you could fill your car up. That's like 12 gallons of gas right there. Which is and like that's gone in terms of, the same amount of money from just using Uber twice. It's insane.